What is going on, everybody? This is Heated Shenanigans Podcast. I am your host, Scott, and on today's episode, I am joined by someone that I have such a tremendous amount of respect for. You have seen him on NWA Powerrr. He is a former ECW superstar, WWE superstar, Impact Wrestling superstar, and he is the owner of one of my favorite charities, Love Dash Alive. Everybody, please welcome in Mr. Elijah Burke. Sir, how are you doing?
Doing fine. I'm just happy to be here, my brother, and all is well. And I appreciate you for being a supporter of the Love Alive charity. As you came off on top, I know we'll probably get to it later, but yes, love-alive.org, very near and dear to my heart. So I certainly want to give a shout out for you for supporting the Love Alive charity.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know what? No better place than to start at the top with it. Pope, how did you come up with creating the Love Alive charity, and what has it meant to the community of Jacksonville?
10 years strong, man. 10 years strong. This year 2022, we celebrated our 10 years. We obviously, a lot of folk know the NWA partook in it as well. Such a huge time for us. And we basically have done, in my opinion, what isn't done enough. And that's just giving back to the community of Jacksonville, Florida, as well as helping the homeless and the in-need community that is often overlooked. Um, and it basically just came about from my from my life, from what I've witnessed, what I've been a part of. Obviously, you guys know that I was uh, Jacksonville sheriff's officer. A lot of people that have been incarcerated, some at no fault of their own, they end up going to the streets and that becomes their home. A lot of people have lost their homes at no fault of their own, so they end up being in shelters and seeking help any way that they can. So one day, well back in 2011, I just decided, you know what, if all the big wigs, if you will, if they're not going to do what needs to be done to help the community, I'm just going to do my part. Thus, my favorite saying, my favorite quote from Gandhi, be the change that you wish to see in the world. And that's exactly what the Love Alive charity is doing. We're just trying to change the world one person at a time and being a positive influence on many people. So, yeah, I just, out of my pocket, one day I went and I just started passing out flyers to the homeless community. I went to every shelter within a radius of downtown Jacksonville, Florida. Uh, and we feed them, man. We feed them, we clothe them. And I started out of Burger King, and 10 years later, I still feed 3, 4, 500 people at a time directly out of Burger King.
And also important to note, everybody, this is run solely out of Elijah's pocket. He's not getting any type of government funding for this. This is out of his own personal account.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, which is why we ask. Um, and I got some loyal supporters, and I can name off, excuse me, I can name many off the top of my head, like Isaiah Zane, who's a local wrestler in New Orleans, Johnny Lyons, and Robert Button, and the list goes on. I get in trouble. Mason Walls, TJ Sykes, those are some from within the wrestling community that support on a continued basis, whether it's $5, 10, 20, whatever the case may be. And some of them have even signed up for monthly donations to be automatically withdrawn from their account, which they ain't going to miss, because you know what? I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts to get myself a doggone coffee, frozen coffee, and it cost me $6 a pop for a frozen coffee. So you're not going to miss it. So yeah, if you got $1, man, to donate, hey, $5 sometimes feed a family. And that's what we're doing, guys. And we don't just feed them Burger King, burgers, a chicken sandwich, or the rib sandwiches when they have them. But man, we are giving brand new clothes, used clothes, shoes, hygiene packets for those on the streets, blankets for those that are sleeping on the street. We just do what we do with what we got. And guys, if you want to see where your money go, head over to Pope TV on YouTube, and you can see the process and the progress.
Let's say another thing I definitely want to make sure the fans are aware of. Not a lot of people know about NWA Power, and it's a damn shame, and they need to know because there's a lot of great action and professional wrestling taking place over there. Pope, I want you to preach to them out there. Tell them why they need to be watching NWA Power.
NWA Power, Daddy. You're talking about wrestling the way it's meant to be. Old school wrestling with a new school feel. That's what NWA is. That's what NWA Power represents on a weekly basis. Storytelling, characters, not necessarily all of the flips and the dives. You can get that anywhere you go, but when you want to watch that classic wrestling and storytelling and the advancement of storylines, and you want to check out NWA Power. And me growing up on NWA is what got Pope into the business of professional wrestling. Then if you're an old school fan, let me tell you, man, this is for you. If you're a new school fan, this is for you. This is the wrestling that you want to partake. All wrestling is good by my account because I'm a wrestling guy. But when you want to partake in something that's special and continually growing under the Billy Corgan era, if you will, then certainly you want to check out NWA Power on a weekly basis from Fight TV, or you can check it out. The second airs on YouTube on Friday, and NWA USA, which airs on Saturday at noon.
Very well said. And with that, I got to ask you, Pope, over the course of your career, what has been the best story you have ever seen told in a professional wrestling ring from a psychology standpoint?
Well, if anybody says anything other than Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, then they do not know wrestling. Okay, and again, we're talking NWA yet again. NWA set the standard for what professional wrestling should be, in my opinion. So, yeah, Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Dusty Rhodes, and the Horsemen in general. And I can go on to some more, but I know a lot of guys and a lot of folk that may be listening. That might be before their time, so I'll even bring it up further and give you a example of a great psychological thriller, if you will, of storytelling. If you want to go to one from the modern era, then you got to go to Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. That's something that the New Age fans could definitely relate to. That was awesome. Both of their encounters, just amazing storytelling.
Say, one thing that I have just been always drawn to when it's come to you in the ring has been your promo abilities and just the way that you can captivate an audience when you speak and the presence that you command. Where did you learn your art of promo?
It's so funny to hear you say that, and you hear me talking about the NWA. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, Scott. I mean, like, yes. I think outside of obvious, Dusty Rhodes was my mentor. He was my favorite wrestler as well. So to have the opportunity to grow up watching the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and him reaching out, saying your hand touching my hand, and I'm going up to the television screen because I believe that this big fat white man was a Southern Baptist black preacher. If I close my eyes, then that's somebody that I was able to relate to. You understand what I'm saying? That was somebody that I gravitated towards, was Dusty Rhodes. You know, I grew up in the church all my life. So, you know, I never had a problem speaking in front of people. I never had a problem talking and promo. Cutting a promo is all about basically having a presence and having a presence of confidence in what you're saying and what you're trying to deliver. And yeah, man, when you talk about promos, you talk Dusty Rhodes, you talk Ric Flair, those were my idols. Those are the ones that really captivated me as a fan. And I kind of borrow a little bit. I would think they all inspired me for the most part.
See, another thing, guys out there, if you haven't checked it out, Elijah Burke, Pope, however you want to refer to him as, does have a podcast. It is an amazing podcast on Spotify. Pope's Point of View with Polo Del Mar. Pope, get these people up to date. What are they missing by not checking out Pope's Point of View?
Pope's Point of View with Elijah Burke, and obviously my co-host at this moment in time, Polo Del Mar, the manager of champion of managers. Listen, if you ain't listening to Pope's Point of View, what are you waiting on? It's on every podcast platform that you can listen and download, whether that's Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and the list goes on. We are talking current stuff. We talk behind the scenes. We talk the cover the news with the letter Z. That's basically the dirt. What's the hottest discussions that's going on in the world of professional wrestling? Hell, you might even bring up one or two. We try to give a real perspective, not just from a show perspective, but from a fan perspective, because we're still fans of the business. We talk about what we don't like and we talk about what we like, whether that's our own very product with the NWA. If it ain't hitting or if something don't make sense, we talk about it. If it's AEW and the botches or the storylines that make absolutely no sense, we talk about it. Just this past week on Post Point of View, we talked about the whole CM Punk thing, the media scrum, and the fallout from All Out, if you will. So yeah, man, we talk about it all.
Let's say, guys, definitely. I recommend a lot of podcasts because I've had a lot of guys on here that have them, but I wouldn't recommend it to you guys if it wasn't worth your time. And this is definitely one of those ones that is worth your time.
Definitely, and we certainly appreciate you giving an opportunity for your boy to put that out there, because again, man, I've been all the way up to 36 in the United States as far as podcast rankings, and we're continuing to grow on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, I should say. And so, anybody that's listening, give us a chance, and I promise, if you come over, you're gonna laugh, and more importantly, you're gonna be informed, because your boy's gonna always spit that knowledge on the show that is known as 45 Minutes of Fire and then some.
Let's say the unfortunate part is had plans not changed. You and I would have been doing a meet and greet in Tampa tomorrow.
And I was so looking forward to it, man. I'm dead serious. The first thing I do when I get my bookings and make any type of agreements, I go ahead and start laying out, what I'm going to do, my cars, my travel. I go ahead and start laying that stuff out, and then say, okay, so I'm gonna do this, and then where am I going from here? But more importantly, man, anytime there's fan interactions and doing stuff like conventions and meet and greets, those are the most rewarding things. This one of the most rewarding parts of the business right now, which is why so many people are back out doing it. I mean, think about this: Barry Windham retired from wrestling, uh, period, probably back in 2008. When he was aging in my matches, 8 or 9, he finally, had some health problems, went home, and all of a sudden, they finally were able to start getting Barry Windham back out. For whatever reason that may be, maybe he missed it, maybe something happened and clicked. He said maybe he needs to get back to the fans more. But I just had a chance to catch back up with Barry at NWA 74 in St. Louis, Missouri. So how cool was that? For me to grow up in the NWA, grow up watching a Horseman, watching Barry Windham, United States champion, watching his legendary feuds. And then all of a sudden, this guy, much like me working with my mentor, Dusty Rhodes at ECW, WWE ECW, but I got Dusty Rhodes there and I got Barry Windham agent in my matches. Come on, man.
It had to have been a dream come true for you.
Unreal, man. Never in a million years would I have funked that. So it was certainly a dream come true, and I was, I was on cloud 9 for sure.
So you've been to, again, WWE, Impact, now NWA. Where have you learned the most from?
Well, I would say that I learned the most from WWE because I had the chance to, again, we're talking Horsemen, and I left out Arn Anderson. We're talking Horsemen, and I left out Dean Malenko. All guys who have been a part of the grooming process, if you will, when it comes to the knowledge of the psychology of professional wrestling. So working under those guys and learning under Fit Finley, man, I mean, I can't tell you enough. Ricky Steamboat was at NWA 74 as well. So I had the chance to learn under these guys. I had a chance to wrestle my idol Ric Flair, and it's just absolutely amazing the amount of knowledge that I learned from WWE, which has prolonged and given me the career that I've had because I've been able to take that knowledge and apply it in Impact Wrestling, aka TNA. That's how Pope became Pope. That's how Pope was able to go down there and get over. That's how Pope is still pimping to this very day in the NWA because psychology makes the difference. Everybody can go out to the ring and do monkey flips and backwards flips and gainers and suicide dives, tope suicidas, and the list goes on and on. But what makes sense is what sticks.
I would 100% agree with that. Now, there's been so much controversy in professional wrestling over the few weeks and months with Vince McMahon and CM Punk. From a worker, how do you deal with the social media and the constant, like, under the public eye?
You know, man, I'll tell you this. Pope's been in the public eye for a very, 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 very long time. Well beyond my 20 years in professional wrestling because I was a law enforcement officer. So I've been in the public eye for a while, and it's all about just flying right, man. And that's what I do. I don't try to put my business on social media. What you get off social media is just strictly Pope, and that's who you pay to see. That's who you invest your time into watching. You don't want to know. Well, some people do want to know behind the scenes and what goes on when you're not on camera, but that's just not something that I've ever partaken or partook in. So the best way to handle being in the public eye is not removing uh, the glasses, if you will, not removing the film from over the public's eye to see you. You know, don't give them X-ray vision. So many guys have pulled back the veil on their personal lives that is almost to a fault of their own that they fall under the scrutiny, whether that's the wrestling or not, from the public eye, because you give them that. When you put your business out on social media, you can't tell people they shouldn't comment or have an opinion on it because you put it out there. So Pope just stay away from all of that, period. And if I see something, which is very rare, on social media, on my social media timeline, that is, whether that's Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, that I don't agree with, or somebody's trying to get a rise out of Pope, I don't even reply to them. I just block them. And that's it. And I haven't had to do that a lot, but I've seen some. If someone get on Pope's timeline and try to argue with someone else who has made a comment on my timeline, I block them. I just don't want the negativity around me, bro.
It's not worth it. There's so much negativity in the world already. We don't need to add to it.
Amen to that.
Like, and I remember you had said to start this before we got this going. You've stopped at a Dunkin' Donuts, get some coffee. What type of coffee do you like, Pope?
Man, you know, Pope's just a coffee drink. I just drink my coffee black. I never thought one day that I'd be drinking straight black coffee. You know, I don't like strong coffee like espressos and all that. I don't like it. I like to drink coffee for taste. You know, so some good Colombian coffee works for me. But Dunkin's is my preferred coffee stop, followed by McDonald's. You know,
No
I don't do
Starbucks?
the hell with Starbucks. My girl Lisa Marie Vachon, aka Victoria, she loves her some Starbucks, and every time we would travel together, she got her some Starbucks coffee. I would get an espresso, not an espresso, but what do you call those things? A latte or something like that, just because we needed something in the airport. But gosh, man, Starbucks coffee is like mud to me, and even the one that's not like mud is just horrible. The taste is just not there for Pope.
So on the road then, favorite restaurant to frequent while you're on the road?
Favorite restaurant on the road would probably always be Waffle House, just because of the availability. Waffle House is always, for the most part, certainly prior to COVID, and even now after COVID, you know, it's open. You know, it's open, and when we get get out of the show when you done wrestle for, been at the show from 7 to 11 and you're leaving at 11 to 12 o'clock on the road, whatever the case may be. You got to find something to eat. And I'm not a big proponent of fast food, so I will always stop to like Waffle House and Denny's. Sometimes I do Denny's, but I prefer Waffle House and IHOP.
You ever tried Sheets?
I can't say I have.
Say it's a sub place. I don't know how. I think it's in the
Yeah.
Virginia area. I'm not sure.
I know what Sheets is. What's the other one? But I've done the Horton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, over in Canada and up that way. We've had to stop to the, what is it called? Something Horton. But that's
Horton's
like
Coffee.
No, bro. It's like a gas station / It's like Sheets. It's like Wawa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's called Horton. Horton. Something Horton or Horton something. It's a big Canadian thing, man. And unfortunately, I don't have the ability right now to try to find that. But
You're good, man. You're good. So over the course of your career, what is one lesson that you've learned in professional wrestling that you did not expect to learn?
Well, outside of the obvious of psychology, I would say just the bumps in general, bumps in itself. Like for instance, I've always seen the backdrops, and you probably never seen Pope take a backdrop ever, and that's a
I don't
little
think I have.
that's a little known history fact. The only time Pope has ever taken a backdrop was when Ric Flair chopped me, shot me off, and gave me a backdrop. It's like, okay, it's Ric Flair. I got to take a backdrop. So, and I took it just the way Ric Flair would take it, to the side. That was one of the things that really had me reluctant to learn to do. But Muhammad Hassan, I don't know if you remember him.
I do.
Muhammad Hassan, he was very integral in the learning process of me, because he would take some very nice high backdrops, and man, I was like, if I can do them like him. And it took me a couple of times to get comfortable and whatnot. A couple of times I bit my tongue, a couple of times I snapped, but man, when I learned it, I got it. But the thing is, I just never did it in the ring, because of the room for error. The lack of room, I should say, for error. You got somebody that's maybe a little too eager, go early, push you, over rotate you, under rotate, you slip off of them. So it's one of those things where I like to be in control of myself. And while I have to trust the individual that I'm in there with, that's one thing I don't play about, is taking the backdrop. One bad, one wrong move, one to the left, to the right. It's just a risky maneuver. And hats off to everybody that takes it, because Pope ain't.
So back on the on NWA Power here, what has been your favorite feud that you've had in NWA Power?
Tyrus. Tyrus
Tyrus
was my favorite feud, because he's been my main feud. I wrestled him more times than I have anybody else in NWA, and it was I have something to sink my teeth into, and I love to do that. Nick Aldis is afraid of me, so yeah, put that out there. He's afraid of me, but Tom Latimer has probably been my favorite opponent, though. The dude is a beast. He is, as I refer to him, not just a maniacal nutcase, but he is the modern day Nikita Koloff, in my opinion. And I would love to take him and form my own superpowers that I started off looking for in the NWA.
Hell yeah. So what would you say, like what led to the creation of the Pope character? Because it was really, and it still is, one of the most unique characters in professional wrestling, and just your presentation of it you really set yourself apart from everybody and really got a lot of people to stop and focus on what you were doing.
Yeah, and man, again, that's that teaching. That's that, that mindset of, okay, everybody can go out here. Listen, I got so many friends over in AEW, right? Um, and I love the fact that we have AEW to counter WWE. I love that we got NWA to be the alternative. But when you look at some of the matches, you see so many of the same things done over. And so you have to ask yourself, well, if this guy's doing this and I'm doing it and the guy behind me is doing it, what makes me different? What makes me stand out? Nothing. It don't, because everybody can do it. Uh, Last night, or last week when you watched AEW Dynamite, how many suicide dives did you see? How many springboards did you see? How many? It's like, okay, but what makes one different from the other? Nothing. It's just a different character doing it. So I decided when I became the Pope, and we were working on that in the WWE. It's like, okay, I want to be the Pope. I want to bring this character to life. I had already done the whole get up, the whole presentation in the empty arena in OVW, and I sold it to Vince Russo because in WWE they wanted to make Pope a televangelist, and I didn't want to be a televangelist because that wasn't what Pope is. So I had a little pushback that was going on from my end, like, hey guys, that's not the character. But of course, with WWE, you have to, they want to take it and make it what they want it to be and how they see it. And I understood that. A lot of people don't know this, but my first feud was supposed to be with Kane at SummerSlam.
Really?
Yeah, it was supposed to go with Kane in the SummerSlam, but uh, the uniqueness of the Pope character is that it just resonates with everyone because everyone gets to put their own spin on what the Pope character is. They see what's presented to them, but some say, "Oh, Pope's a pimp. Oh, well, Pope's a street preacher. Oh, well, Pope's this, that, not. Pope's just Pope." However you get it, though, that's up to you, and that's good. But I wanted to present something that was different from everybody else. I can't go out there and outflip you. I can't. I can't. I'm not no AJ Styles. I can't do a 450. Okay, but I guarantee you, you ain't going to out talk me. You ain't going to out pimp me. You ain't going to out. I mean, I'm just going to be Pope, and luckily enough, it's gotten me this far. And next stop, NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
Let's say what is it you think that has been so, I don't know, professional wrestling has kind of taken a dive in popularity over the years, and I don't understand because a few years, well, closer to a decade now, it was one of the hottest things in the world. What do you think has led to like wrestling kind of coming down a little bit?
Well, you'll hear a lot of people talk about the monopolization, but that's true. When WCW went out of business, no competition. Some fans are fans to a fault of their own and to the fault of professional wrestling because they don't understand that because your team didn't win, okay, so the Lakers didn't win the championship. So I'm not just going to watch basketball? No, uh, uh, I want to support the NBA because I want the Lakers, which is my team, to come back and have an opportunity to win again. So that's where we are now. If you kind of look at the landscape, you have that loyal 100 or maybe a loyal 800,000. I was about to say a million, but you got the loyal 800 and 900,000 built-in audience for AEW. And then you have the WWE, which, goes from, you know, 2.6 million and down, give or take, with SmackDown being the highest rated show now. But some fans will not. They're not just wrestling fans. They choose sides and they tend to stick with a side. And the only way they watch the other product is if something newsworthy happened or is bound to happen that, cause them to say, oh, I'm going to go watch this. You still got WWE fans that have never watched AEW. Some we saw some tune in to AEW when Punk came over because the ratings went up, but then after that they left. They never, some may have dwindled back, but it's like, okay, this product is not for me, and that's okay because NWA is not for everybody. That's okay. WWE is not for everybody. That's okay. But for wrestling in general, you want the people and the fans to just enjoy wrestling, and hopefully they can get past, just supporting one brand and just kind of. But I think wrestling right now is just down because it's overpopulated. It's just too much wrestling. Hell, I do a podcast and I don't want to watch everything that comes on all week. It's like, Polo, we're going to just do In the News tonight with the letter Z. So we're just going to cover the hot topics. I'm not finna sit and watch, 3 hours of freaking Raw. I'm not finna watch NXT on Tuesday. I'm not about to watch freaking Impact on Thursday, whatever channel they air on. I'm not about to freaking watch 2 hours of, I just can't. It's just too much wrestling, and I'm the biggest wrestling fan. But the reason that got me hooked to NWA when I was not involved with NWA was the fact that it was 45 minutes to an hour, and it was entertaining from top to bottom. Even the commercials were entertaining, and so that's what bought me and sold me on NWA. And when they hit me up to be a part, I was all in. No pun intended. AEW.
Well, Pope, before we go and wrap this up, I want you to let the fans know, the listeners, where they can find you out on social media and any upcoming appearances that you might have coming up.
Well, guys, always you can follow your boy on Instagram and on Twitter at the Black Pope. That's at DA Black Pope. Why is it Black Pope? Because I'm the first and only of my kind. That's a dumb question, right? So be sure to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram at the Black Pope. You can also follow me on TikTok now. That's right, the Pope EB on TikTok, as well as on Facebook, of course, Elijah Burke or Elijah Burke, aka the Pope. And you can obviously go over to YouTube, Pope TV. You can check out all of the Pope's appearances, matches that I've had, including the Love Alive charities, love drives where we feed and clothe the hungry and the displaced community of Jacksonville, Florida. And you can also check out your boy every Saturday morning, 9:05 Eastern Time, for Pope's Point of View with Elijah Burke and Polo Del Mar. And we drop a new episode, like I say, every Saturday at 9:05. I'm going to be in Miami next week for Reefamania. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not Pope's thing, but when when the signal is raised, your boy got to answer. So here I'm gonna tell you this little story before I let you go.
Oh, go ahead.
When I talk about the signal being lit in the sky, I got to respond to it, and I don't mean that signal being lit, okay, Scott? So don't get too happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm gonna be doing that. I'm also heading back over to Trinidad for All Caribbean Wrestling. Go check out your boy on Instagram. I post all the appearances there. I put them in the stories, and I'll continue to do that. But about the signal, just to send your listeners away with a laugh. I was working as a young man in high school. I worked at a place called Albertson. That was a southern place. I don't know how far up north they went, but it was like Publix or your local Winn-Dixie or something like that. And I was what they call a bag boy. Okay, so I would bag the groceries, or I would go out and get the buggies, just like you see today at Walmart. And there was this family, a Sudani family, that would come in, and they had this big, humongous baby. He had to be about 2 years old, but man, he was like the Michigan Tire Man. I'm talking about, he looked like the marshmallow guy off of Ghostbusters, right? And every time he would come in, he would see me and he'd look at me and he would reach with his little fat, chubby hands and go, Batman, Batman. and he looked at his people, and he looked at Batman. And one day I said, you know what? I'll never forget. my, I was working with an older white woman, and she was my girl because she would be on that register, and she'd have like her shots of gin and vodka underneath the register, so she would come in drunk. But we had so much fun working together, and we laughed all night. So I say, you know what? They're here. And when they come up here, if that baby say that, I'm going to ask them, what exactly is he saying? So they came back in. They got them some rolls and some food. Because we always made fresh bread at Albertson. It was a top seller, to buy the whole old school loaf where you just cut it up. And he got up there, and sure enough, he went to reaching at me, Batman, Batman. And I say, what does he say? And they go, oh, he loves Batman. And when they walked off, it clicked. I said, that boy ain't saying Batman. He's pointing at me going, black man, black man. Yeah, so that's so that's a little story. And because they were so embarrassed, but he was saying black man, black man. So yeah, so there you go, guys. There's a little story from folks' history. I shared it one time on Folks' Point of View and on the live, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Those were the days, as Archie Bunker would say. Those were the days.
Oh shoot! Well, that's a great way to end this one, though. Let's say, well, Pope, I definitely want to thank you for your time, sir. It means a lot to be able to finally speak with you and have you on the podcast.
Yes, sir. And obviously, we'll definitely do it again, Scott. I appreciate your patience, and I thank you for reaching out to make what we thought was going to happen tomorrow in Tampa. But hey, man, there's always next time, and hopefully, when that time comes, you and I can do that. We can hang out in person, and then we can do a podcast in person as well.
Oh, absolutely, sir. Well, I'll let you get back on the road, sir. You have a safe trip, okay?
I appreciate it very much. All love, man, and shout out to everybody who listened to Heated Shenanigans podcast.